There was a time when hip-hop demanded something from you. If you wanted to be part of the culture and wanted to be a rapper, you had to bring more than a catchy hook plus more substance in your music. This included lyrics that felt they had weight and punchlines that made people rewind and run it back. The bar was high, and if you couldn't spit with the best of them, well, you weren't getting past the gate. We're talking about the era of music when names like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and early Drake were setting the tone. At this time, albums weren't just playlists of songs, but were full-on experiences, with To Pimp a Butterfly becoming a huge part of hip-hop culture. 2014 Forest Hills Drive, a coming-of-age memoir in rap form. Even My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was a chaotic layered masterpiece that people still analyse to this day. Back then, the measure of greatness wasn't how viral your track was or whether your hook could be used in a TikTok dance. It was about how real your story felt, how clever your wordplay was, how much of your soul you poured into every verse. But then, something strange happened. In December of 2018, a song popped up on the internet. It wasn't from a big-name artist. It didn't come with a marketing campaign. In fact, it wasn't even being taken seriously by most people. Just a weird, genre-mixing track, uploaded by a kid from Atlanta who went by the name nasx. At first listen, people thought it sounded like a joke, a country song, a rap beat. Was this a parody? Nobody really knew what to make of it. But here's the thing, people actually started to like it, and they actually liked it very much. They laughed, they shared it, they danced to it. And on TikTok, which at that time was just starting to become a gateway for people to get introduced to new music, the song reached a lot of people. And overnight, Old Town Road became a viral sensation, not because of its lyrical depth or because it was carrying a deep message, but because it was catchy and weird and fun. And that song's performance would turn out to make a big shift in hip-hop, because at the time it got released, Old Town Road did more than just go viral. It shattered records that were set before by big artists. It dominated the Billboard for 19 straight weeks. It became the longest reign in chart history. That's longer than One Dance, and even longer than Despacito, and even longer than God's Plan. Think about that. A $30 YouTube beat, some cowboy lyrics, and a meme-driven rollout outperformed the biggest pop stars in the world. And that wasn't luck. That was a shift in hip-hop. Because suddenly the music industry, the same industry that used to obsess over who had the best bars, started paying attention to something else entirely, that thing being virality. Old Town Road proved something dangerous that day. It proved you didn't need lyrics that made people think to make it in music anymore. You just needed lyrics they could repeat and keep people interested long enough to keep fans waiting until the next one. It said you didn't need depth, you needed a hook that can be a moment, something TikTok could sink its teeth into. And once the industry saw how powerful that formula was, it was a wrap. What followed was a wave of music designed not for headphones or long drives or deep analysis, but for 15-second snippets, something to soundtrack a dance, a reaction video, a meme. Songs got shorter, hooks got simpler, lyrics became borderline nonsense and on purpose. Artists who once might have aimed to be the next Nas or Kendrick were now more interested in being the next viral trend on TikTok. And to be fair, who could blame them? Even the artists themselves were changing. For instance, Lil Tecca came up off a hit song that literally had no real-life truth to it. After he released his hit song, he admitted to not doing anything in the song. He rapped about guns he didn't own, places he hadn't been, but the song slapped, and that was all that mattered. Playboi Carti turned unintelligible flows into an aesthetic. Yeet turned corporate brand names into hype mantras. It wasn't about what you said, it was about how it sounded. And through it all, you could trace the DNA back to Old Town Road. It opened the door to a whole new blueprint that said you don't need to write a classic, you just need to write a vibe. Make it memeable, make it loopable, make it TikTok ready. Now, this isn't to say lyrical hip-hop died. Kendrick still drops albums that shake the culture. J. Cole still puts out verses that make people pause and analyse. There's still a huge audience that wants more than just vibes. But in the mainstream, in the charts, in the way labels scout new talent, the priority has shifted. Substance became optional and depth became niche. And with this, Old Town Road was the moment that split the timeline in two, the before and the after. Before it, hits were crafted. After it, hits were hacked. And Lil Nas X became the face of that evolution, depending on how you see it. That disruption leaned into his individuality. He broke every rule, every genre and every expectation. And whether you love him or not, you can't deny he opened the floodgates for a new era of hip-hop, where being different wasn't a risk anymore. It was the blueprint. But what do you think? Did Old Town Road ruin hip-hop or just evolve it? Was this a natural progression or did we lose something in the process? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, you already know, like, sub, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.